There is an acute water crisis in India, and it is very important that we as citizens do our bit to help to support the Prime Minister's Jal Shakti Abhiyan and News 18 Mission Pani by becoming Jal Rakshak or water warriors and save water in every possible way. Because every drop matters, save water, save life.
Okay, you just saw that Mission Pani. That is one of the biggest issues that our economy is going to have to face over the next 5 to 10 years. The government is looking to make water availability one of the big focus areas in the second term. What are the challenges and who are the likely beneficiaries? We discuss it with Suhas Harinarayan, the head institutional equity research at GM Financial. In fact, from his report, we understand that only 18% of households have piped water currently, and the government is planning an aggressive target of providing piped water to all households by 2024. Suhas, hi, good morning. A, how realistic does this target look? And B, which are the sectors where you see more spending towards this entire issue? You know, whether it's pipes, EPC, water harvesting, etc. Where do you see the money flow through towards?
Thank you. Just as most programs in India have been, some of these programs have been running for years. For example, the piped water program actually started, under UPA 2, I think possibly around 2008-9. And subsequently, the new government has, taken over the challenges under, NDA 2. And although the progress has been pretty, disappointing, I think under the last regime, I think, the number, as you mentioned, is only up to 18% at this point in time. Part of our confidence in their ability to achieve some of these targets in the current regime stems from two factors. One is clearly the success under the Swachh Bharat scheme, where the coverage is, as per the statistics, available statistics, has improved to almost 99%. That's the the Swachh Bharat scheme. The second is reason is historically, as you would know, there have been three different entities or three different ministries which handle water. You had someone who handled the central water resources. You had a Ganga rejuvenation program, and then you had the water and sanitation ministry. I think, as you know, all these three ministries have been merged into one single ministry called the Ministry of Jal Shakti. And so, from that perspective, we expect a lot better coordination, across the different departments in, enforcing, or getting these program implemented under this regime. So clearly, I know the numbers have not been representative until now, but we are hopeful that, given these two changes and what we have in terms of numbers from the Swachh Bharat, we are a little bit more optimistic about this program. Second question you had asked was in terms of, probably I'm, taking one step ahead.
What will they go about?
In terms of,
go ahead.
Yeah. So see, the thing is, okay, great. So the thing is, firstly, you have to get a number to it, right? I think in terms of expected spending. So what we have done was we've studied, various projects, which have been done in the state of Telangana, some certain projects in Assam, and we've arrived at a per capita spending of about 6,000 to 10,000 rupees, purely on the capex part, not on the O&M part. If you want to, get a number. So that means if you are to meet this 150 million households target, you're looking at about anywhere upwards of 6 lakh crores as of potential spending in the next 5 years if they are to meet this target. Right, so that's the expected spending. So this is the money part. I'm not even talking about the water availability or not. At least from spending, this is the number that is expected.
So where will that be spent?
Right.
Is it likely to be spent in civil work, like Namami Gange, embankments and stuff like that, or will it be more in pipes? How would you distribute it? How would they distribute it?
So as I said, so clearly, let's assume let's assume two things. One is water is available, and second, let's assume that the money is available as well. If these two conditions are in place, we have belief that both these are available, but at least coming on to the third part, which is the spending part, going by what has been spent in these projects in the past, about 40 to 50% typically gets spent on just the piping part. About 20 to 25 generally goes towards civil works, about 20 to 25% towards water treatment and water purification, right? Because whatever water you get, you have to ultimately purify and treat it. And lastly, about maybe 5 to 10% typically goes into your pumps, valves, and certain other things. So clearly, pipes, as you mentioned, is clearly a big part of it. And so the thing is, if you compare this with similar to power sector, what we are essentially talking of is the transmission and distribution part. We are not talking of the generation part of water.
Absolutely.
Right? So which means it's largely the pipes, civil works, water treatment, and pumps and valves. I think these are the areas where we should expect spending.
Suhas, you're on a bazaar show, so you have to leave us with some companies that will benefit. Would it be pipe companies? If yes, what? Shakti pumps? I mean, I don't know. Which companies are likely to benefit?
So I mentioned a few things in the report, but yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. I don't want to get specific into companies because that's the next level of work that we also have to do. But our study was mainly to identify. Firstly, if this is a feasible project from a money, water, and spending expectation, and then arrive at what are the likely sectors which could potentially benefit.
Suhas, before we end the discussion, the biggest problem that everyone's sweeping under the carpet for now is water availability, right? You fleetingly mentioned it, saying that you're assuming that there is water availability, but the crisis is just deepening. I was reading that in Chennai now, half of the hospitals are completely dependent on a fleet of privately owned tankers. So if that is the situation now, 5 years down the line, I don't know what it's going to be. What does your report suggest?
So what we are saying is, if you look at I'll come to Chennai separately, but if you look at from a holistic perspective, from a very top-down perspective, so India gets about 4,000 BCM of rainfall, basically precipitation in the form of snowfall, rainfall every year. The water available for use, after considering that certain large part of the water gets run off into the oceans, and there's also some part of the water from, for example, the Brahmaputra basin which cannot be used. We're left with about 1100 to 1200 kind of BCM as available water for usage.
Okay.
Of this, about 65% is is surface water, which is primarily in the rivers, lakes, and about 55 odd percent is in your is primarily in your groundwater. The usage or the demand, as per various estimates, is about 700 odd BCM. Okay, so the thing is, from a very top-down perspective, yes, water is available. So what we are essentially thinking is that India is not a water deficit country. Of course, there are stresses. So the distribution of water is also not equally spread, right? So you have a Chennai, and you have maybe, especially the southern states, where the basic availability of water is a challenge. So holistic level, water is available, but I think I agree that there are certain points in play within the whole country where there is a stress, or there's a water scarcity at this point in time.
Okay. Well, at Network 18, we have launched a Mission Pani, and we are hoping to take this as a theme throughout the year and maybe the years ahead as well. And Suhas, we will look forward to your participation. We have just kick-started the conversation from a commercial and economic angle, and we'll do more of this. Thank you very much for a very seminal report, which gives us some triggers of the themes that we should concentrate on. Well, that's the word coming from Suhas Harinarayan on the water issue itself. Too premature, actually, to start looking at VA Tech Babag and Shakti pumps or whatever, or even L&T and ITD cementation. But really, there is business over there. The markets have recovered just a wee bit, but on very flat terrain. So before we wind up, let's put on your plate another important issue. Reports are suggesting that the Committee of Bankers, the Committee of Creditors of Essar Steel, are likely to appeal in the Supreme Court today against the NCLAT, the NCLAT order, which had effectively placed operational creditors at par with financial creditors. Now, under the IBC, the financial creditors are superior, and under all commercial good sense, within financial creditors, secured creditors are much ahead of unsecured creditors. all that equation got distorted in the NCLAT. I caught up with some leading lawyers, one of them, Behram Vakil, the founding partner at AZB and Partners, for some thoughts on what this might mean for bankers and for commercial business in general. Listen to that. We'll wind up on Bazaar and come back with Chartbusters.
The idea was most of the money was from the banks. That's the ground reality in India. And they have more, they are well versed with commercial and financial matters. And because of the speed at which we need things to move, these decisions, all commercial decisions, should be taken by COC. You want to rewrite the law, that's a whole different matter. But today, that was the decision. So as per 30 and 31, I think it's extremely clear. The import of this is, you want to take out the distinction between secured, unsecured. All of us start paying 15% on home loans. Instead of 9.25 with a normal mortgage on your home, the banks, what choice will they have? They must price everything as unsecured. This is the situation. You're going to push it towards liquidation. Even in the current case, I don't want to get too involved, it's sub judice, but you will push this towards liquidation. And the last point is, even in that ease of doing business ranking, where we have made so much headway, it clearly says protection of secured creditors is a clear point of contention. So you cannot, it's the most core basic principle of banking.